his computer. Welcome to Slothcast. This is a very special episode. This is the Jack the Perfume Nationalist episode. He is the inspiration for this show, for the entirety, for the voice that you're hearing, the broadcast, all this stuff. It wouldn't be anything without him. With us today as well, with Jack, is Brendan from the Ellroy Boys and the creator of the Isolation Chamber. Boys, how are you today?
Oh, terrific. Thank you. That's so nice to hear that.
Great, man. Thanks for having me.
And of course, with me as always is the co-host with the most, the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour, the crusty, the beautiful Trevor Beveridge. How are you, Trevor?
Oh, good. You know, this is the earliest we've ever done an episode, and I think it's just great.
Thanks for doing an early one to accommodate my needs.
No, I like it. I was going to propose maybe we do it all the time because, yeah, I feel a little more alert.
Yeah. Well, Jack's you're doing a webinar, right? Your webinar starts tomorrow. It's a Thaddeus Russell School, right?
I am. It's called The War on Beauty in the 21st Century, and it's going to be 3 90-minute classes. Basically a condensation of all of the themes that we cover on my show, but it should be really fun. I've never done anything like that. I've never monologued for a long time, just like Rush Limbaugh. So we'll see how it turns out.
Yeah. Do you have notes? Are you prepped? Are you ready to go?
Yeah. I mean, I'm working on it now. So yeah. It's happening, but yeah, we'll see. It'll be fun.
And I've always wanted to do something like that. I thought, well, maybe I can teach like film, like a film history class to seniors.
You'd be great at that.
Just senior center or something. Oh, thank you, Jack. But
all these podcasts are like film history classes for free. So yeah. we're selling the milk for free, as it were, already.
This Thaddeus thing, I mean, that's a gig, right?
Yeah, it's a gig.
That's sick, man. I mean, congratulations.
Oh, thanks.
Well deserved.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think you're going to do well. I taught an acting class once, and it went horribly wrong. I'm not a good acting teacher. I was trying to bring lessons that I learned and little improv games, and it was just not working. People were doing what I was telling them, but I was looking at it going, this looks so fucking funny. And I was just like being into it, pretending like this is great, but no, they didn't learn anything.
Yeah, I wanted to be a teacher. That's what I was like sort of on the path to do. And I finished half of a master's in English and then was like simultaneously so disenchanted with the reality of academia. And I just started like working full time, editing erotica, my first full-time job, so I didn't finish. And yeah, it's nice to exercise some of those urges in a more like kind of formal setting.
Did you go to school for film, right?
I actually have an associate's degree in radio, television, film from Austin Community College. It took me like 6 years to finish a bachelor's in English, which I finished at Texas State. But yeah, I took plenty of like film classes and stuff. And the best film class I ever had was actually in 9th grade in public school. It's better than the college one.
Me too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was we didn't have a theater. I had to go when I did theater. I had to get. I would go on a bus and miss my last 2 periods. But what I did was join the ROTC in 9th grade. And if you did ROTC in 9th grade for the rest of your scholastic career in high school, you didn't have to do PE. So I ended up having this like extra credit or extra what are those things called? Anyway, I went to film class, and that was where I learned, like it was really like indelible lessons about important movies and made like film projects and stuff. But wait, you edited erotica?
Yeah, ebook erotica for women that was mostly like werewolves, shapeshifters, vampires, extremely explicit, like hardcore disgusting stuff.
Okay.
So I lived basically inside the female mind, for like the most unsavory kind of female mind, like fibromyalgia, morbidly obese, erotica addicted, because they all like hate like pornography and would disapprove of like a man watching pornography, and they just call themselves little readers. They call it reading what they do, which is masturbating to werewolves. And so their husband has no idea what's going on as they're like on their tablet reading about like a werewolf like ass blasting a twink. And so, yeah, that was fun while it lasted. It was like a sweatshop, basically.
What are the authors of these texts like?
The women who read them.
I see.
They're all, from the pictures I saw of them, they were all morbidly obese women that they would have like conventions and stuff, and I would see the pictures. No one was glamorous, all morbidly obese. And this carried over into the books because all of the protagonists, they would make a big deal about how Rubenesque and curvy they were. And the theme of all the book was like total resentment of like thin, pretty women, because the like rich werewolf guy would choose them over the thin, pretty woman. But yeah, it's a nightmarish underworld that nobody knows existed. And like all the college feminists that I worked with straight out of college who had their English degrees and this was their first job, they were super disturbed that they didn't really have a way to blame this on the patriarchy, because it was a woman-run company, books written by women and consumed by women, and yet it affirmed every kind of like gross patriarchal stereotype known to man, because that's what erotica is.
Interesting.
Brendan, we talked about this. You have a master's, right?
In museum studies.
Museum studies?
Yeah, from the University of Washington.
And what about film stuff? Did you do film stuff too?
I have a film degree as my undergrad.
Okay.
At the University of Wisconsin. But I don't know. I was afraid of, I think I really wanted to be involved in film production, but I was so afraid of failure, I think, that I went down the road of more like theory, history, and criticism, and got really into that. And that was what most of my classes were about in college. But I did take some production classes, and I acted a lot in my friends' movie, in the other students' movies. And I thought, hey, maybe I can be an actor.
Yeah.
And so I kind of thought, well, maybe I'll be an actor. And I met some other film students after I graduated who were like, you want to be involved in this thing? And I'd be like, yes, whatever. I'd go and do it. And then I would just be so bad, and I would be so embarrassed to be involved with it, that I would just get like trashed drunk before doing it. And I'm sure I humiliated myself on more than a couple of occasions. And I thought, okay, I don't want to be I'm not going to be an actor.
Seeing yourself on film is a really easy way to slippery slope down to becoming an alcoholic. Putting yourself out in public at all is a good way to do that.
Yeah. And I was an alcoholic.
In a way, though, you were doing what classic actors always have done. For anyone from like John Wilkes Booth's brother, what's his name? Edwin. Yeah, Edwin Booth was that was your dad's name, Trevor.
Yeah, he was named after. No,
he was named after Edwin Booth. No. Okay.
No.
Well, Edwin Booth, all those guys, Peter O'Toole, all the actors. That's all they did was get fucking hammered. And act.
Well, sounds fun. I would like to take an acting class, I think, just to like just for the hell of it.
Well, you're really a good actor on the Isolation Chamber, though.
Yeah, you are.
And you're natural at it. So I went to acting class. That's all I ever wanted to be. And I wasted years at doing acting classes, because acting classes are just there to get your money, and you're never ready. Right. The teacher's always telling you you're not ready, and you've got stuff to work on, and it's all bullshit. So that when you get into the room to actually audition or anything like that, you're completely fucking scared and unnatural. And the whole thing is with casting is you walk into a room, you either are the part or you aren't. And it doesn't even fucking matter if you're a good actor or not. It's just, does he look like it or not? And that's it. Can he read the lines? Can he memorize the lines? That's it. Everything else is just bullshit.
My thought is that it would be a good way to meet like other attractive adults.
Yeah, you can definitely. Yeah, you don't want to get with an actress because they're fucking crazy and sad. Yeah. They're all sad and crazy, and they're never going to want to have babies or anything like that because they're always going to be like, well, I'm in Arizona now, but in 5 years when I'm 38, I might go to Hollywood and become a big fucking star.
Yeah, I wonder, like, what would the people who are taking adult acting classes in Phoenix be like? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
probably fun.
Yeah.
Exactly. The stop for theater and film. You know what I mean?
They do it for a lot of people will take acting classes just to be able to do public speaking. If they're teachers or if they're whatever it is, the corporations, work for corporations and they have to speak to the board or whatever the fuck. You'll meet. I mean, when I was 19, and we were talking about this before in terms of like sexual promiscuity. I was that hurt saying that. I was 19 and I was in this acting class that was like for adults, and they were all like in their late 20s all the way up to the 40s, and there was a lot of girls there, and they were. That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Tonight we're talking about pump up the volume. We'll probably get to it eventually, but there's no format here. We can just keep rapping. But
I've always wanted to take
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I thought it would be cool to be a better liar.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, but I don't know. I don't think I'm a bad liar, but I'm a good actor. So I don't think that there's you could really I'm a terrible liar. You can look in my face and know, and I'll just be smiling because I'm lying. But I don't think those two necessarily go together.
I think it's really
just gamble.
Mostly about being an exhibitionist and not having stage fright naturally, because people think it's bizarre because I have literally no stage fright gene whatsoever. I'll do anything on a stage. Like I acted all the time in high school and shortly thereafter too, and like early college. And I have like crippling anxiety about like making small talk with people that I like know and am friends with and meeting one-on-one, but I can get on a stage or do public speaking, no problem. I don't even think about it. I'm more scared of people one-on-one. It's because to me, it's like you have control over a large audience if they can't say anything,
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. And after I would do the show, I would hide because I don't want to talk to anybody after. I don't want to like people coming up and going, hey, that was great, or whatever they were going to say. I would dip out the back. There was a back door to the theater that I was living in, and I would just go out there to have a cigarette, and that's it. I don't want to talk to anybody after that. You just saw that's it. That's all I have, and everything else, like you're not. It's just going to be It's going to be really bad. It's going to be a bad conversation. And Brendan, in terms of like working in production, it's like I work on this show. And they're filming a scene and they've got the lead actors there on set, and it's in the middle. It's not on set. It's on location. We were in the West Village. This is a week ago. And these two guys, one's a PA and one's a prop master. And the prop master goes to the PA. He's like, he's got a vape in his hand. He's like, what is that? He's like, kind of makes a face. And he's like, no, I don't mean like, what is it? I mean, like, what kind is it? Is it sativa or is it? And he's just like, here, he hands him the vape and he's just ripping it while they're setting up the shot right behind us. It's not even 10 feet away. It's right there. They're setting up and he's just ripping it and he's woo, and he's doing that. And he hands the vape back the whole time on set. Everybody's getting fucked up. Every single person, the actors are, I don't know about the lead actors, but the background actors are fucked up. The extras, the crew, at least a lot of them are either stoned or they're drunk, and it's you go and then right outside is the Teamsters with their trucks, and the Teamsters are there and they're fucked up and they're drinking and napping, and it's not even it's not stressful at all. It's stressful at first, and then you realize like what's going on, and it's just a bunch of like almost like gutter punk, like crusty kids just holding shit up and just talking on a walkie-talkie. It's cool. It's really chill. That's all I mean. In case anybody listens to the show and wants to get me
they're all listening and
who would want to hurt you?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Jilted ex-lovers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All those doctors you mentioned, I think they want
to. All the doctors who told me I had chlamydia and
chlamydia carry.
Milking you.
He's a carrier.
15.
He's a carrier.
Well, there's still time in my life. I'll get an STD. I'm young.
Not hard. I could give you one if you want.
Yeah, it's gonna be like the happiness I came scene at the end.
I was just thinking about that. That bothered me so much when the first time I saw that movie. I was disturbed by it very much.
Yeah, I was disturbed by the father fucking the son's friend, and
oh God.
I thought I went too far when I saw that movie. I was like 14, 15.
I was really 18. You found that movie disturbing? I mean, well, I'm just kidding.
Well,
my intro to like film and being like, oh, film, this is art was like Pulp Fiction.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my stepdad showed me One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and sort of, and then I got Clockwork Orange on the Netflix when they used to send the DVDs, and so we watched it together, and so that was like that was okay, but it was Pulp Fiction. The rape scene in that and I found that movie I rented it by myself. That was, and I watched it with a buddy of mine, and it was there. I was like, whoa, this is pretty intense. I've never seen anything. And so I just kept searching for that. Like, how far does this go? And I got into happiness, and I was like, ooh, this is, I think, too far.
That's what all cinephiles used to do back in the day. And like Todd Solondz does go too far. But the amazing thing is, that's just a movie that anybody who liked movies in the late 90s or early 2000s was into. Everybody was into happiness.
Yeah.
And even Welcome to the Dollhouse, which is like the more like kind of like popular, like meme, like girls make Etsy buttons about it type movie. Even that has all of his like most fucked up themes. Like there's no one that hates victims as much as Todd Solondz. All of his movies are just totally on the side of rapists. and it's like so direct that people often don't even seem to realize. But storytelling is my favorite, and storytelling would be like, it would just absolutely never happen now, and it would be considered alt-right, and none of those actors would do it. But yeah, he's got a,
it's amazing what he's able to do though, like in terms of like getting those people to do those stone-faced performances, like that Mexican, like the Salvadoran lady or whatever. Storytelling.
Lupe Ontiveros, man. Consuelo, just amazing. Yeah, if you're like a kind of like gay hipster director that sort of emphasizes that, you can get actors to do really fucked up stuff and they don't even know. It seems like you have to just know how to like stroke their vanity and kind of lie to them, like with like Mike White and Laura Dern and Enlightened. Like I can't imagine her having any idea that what that show is really about, but
they seem pretty much lost in their own heads. Like they're just not, they're from all the people, famous people I've seen and had limited interactions with, they just are like in a world where it's like they're sort of stunted, and they're stunted in a kind of like adolescence where they're, and like you said, all you have to do is just like play along in their little pretend world, and they're like, okay, yeah, there we go, and they're happy. And anytime that they're getting held up or something, they get frustrated. Like, and when you're doing theater, or even if you're doing like indie projects and stuff, it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of takes, and maybe the director doesn't know what to do. And that's like the worst thing for these people, is that if anything holds them up, and the director is not sure if he wants to get another take or something, they just they start crying. They start having a tantrum. They lose their shit. And I'm always like, just like appalled at their behavior. I didn't know adults could act like this.
Oh,
It's really weird.
That's why when you see an actor everywhere in everything, like Connie Britton, for instance, she's in literally everything. That's like someone that everybody just wants to work with because they're just like professional.
That's a good any success that any limited amount of success I've had in any field has just been because he's easy to work with. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Show up, don't complain.
And it's funny because the two leads in the movie, the Pump Up the Volume, used to live around me about a block away. Samantha Davis lived on my block, and Christian Slater lived a block away.
My wife, Samantha Mathis.
Yes, your wife.
I've been in love with her forever since I was like a very small child. Little Women. Yeah, absolutely. It was this movie, and it was also Broken Arrow.
Oh yeah,
she was smoking, and so when she was on the block, she like showed up. Maybe she was doing a project because she doesn't live here anymore, or maybe she moved someplace better. But she looked so angry, and it was such a shock because I don't know, but she looked so angry at me. She would smile at my dog and then look up at me like, you fucking ugly piece of shit. And I'd see her at the gym, and it was just constant, just like, ugh. And Christian Slater, on the other hand, when he was doing Mr. Robot, was around and a lot, and he'd just come out of the fucking deli like, hey, how you doing? And like talk at you really quickly as, hey, how are you? Okay. And just keep going. Cause I guess he grew up around here, but I don't know how those guys are on set, but
maybe that's why Samantha Mathis's career tapered off. Maybe she's a bitch.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know why people get like that. It's so weird.
Well, she was there. She was dating River Phoenix.
Was she dating River Phoenix? She always gave me a lesbian vibe.
And she was there that night when he died.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And she only spoke out about it recently for the first time. And she said something mysterious like, I have my ideas about what was going on. Sounds like it was Johnny Depp's fault or whoever was there. It was Johnny Depp there. Yeah.
I'm a River Phoenix death conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, I'm a truther.
Yeah. But I mean,
what does that entail?
John Frusciante of the Red Hot Chili Peppers had given him like a drink that had like something, like, I don't know can you liquefy hair? Like if you put heroin can you put heroin in a drink?
I'm sure.
No, I don't know. I've snorted it. I never shot it. I don't know if you can drink it.
Well,
but okay.
There's lots of opioids that you could do that with. So
yeah, there are. You could roofie. Yeah, I mean, you could just.
Because I think what had happened was that like River Phoenix was, he was trying to stay clean, and he was working on this movie, and so he'd gone that night to like try and hang out and play with Johnny Depp and his band or whatever
at the Viper Room.
At the Viper Room, and they'd said to him, well, actually you're not going to be able to play or whatever. And so he was like really disappointed. And so he was open to getting high, and like John Frusciante allegedly like said, oh, then here, have this. And it was like, whatever it was, like he'd been clean for a little while. So he wasn't, like his tolerance levels weren't the same.
Oh,
so that drink was like what had, affected him to the point where he had, was overdosing. And for whatever the reason, there was like a cover up of who actually supplied him with that fatal dose or whatever. But it was actually
before that. Gus Van Sant on the set of My Own Private Idaho, they had like a party house with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And from what I understand, that's where River Phoenix was like introduced to drugs, really. And Gus Van Sant is a really sinister Norman Bates seeming like character. Like I'm creeped out when he like talks at all. I love My Own Private Idaho and Drugstore Cowboy and all of that. Yeah, he seems really really weird and kind of like out to lunch. And also the way that they all made their little like kind of profited off of his death and made their little like books about like grieving over River, and like, Gus Van Sant wrote that book. It's all kind of sick and gross.
I had a friend first time we hung out was at a bar, and he was talking to me about River Phoenix and about how Johnny Depp at that time and River Phoenix were kind of they were both on the rise. They were kind of like the hot thing in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And there was a kind of a rivalry between them, like a little sort of under the, sort of just kind of underneath there was some tension there, because it was like, who's going to be the big guy? And that perhaps it was Johnny Depp that arranged for River.
It was a hit.
To get the hot dogs. It was a hit.
It was a hit. And John Frusciante was the hitman.
Yeah. And if you,
I mean,
well, allegedly. I would believe
it. Out my competition.
Their fucking egos are so big there. I mean, like they don't operate on the same level, man. Like if
didn't Frusciante OD too? Didn't he OD?
Well, I mean, he was like a long time heroin addict. I know that.
Yeah.
I'm sure he probably OD'd multiple times.
The amount of like heroin and that went into making the Red Hot Chili Peppers music, like that music, that's what you get from like this amount of drugs and fame. It's just
yeah.
Blood,
like,
sugar, sex, magic.
Just by like certain rules they have to follow on sets and stuff, and how directors will look at you or the lead actors will look at you if just by showing up and looking a certain way. Or there's a lead actor, he wears fake hair, and first day I'm on set and he's like saying hi to all the extras and like high-fiving crew members and stuff, and then he sees me with the long hair and his face just went like completely serious and was just staring at me. And like, you're not allowed to stare at them. You're not allowed to stare at their eyes. You have to like avert your eyes. So that's what I did. It's like this test. So I would believe any of that shit. I would believe any of that fucking, putting out hits, but giving, inviting someone over to your house and knowing there's some fucking fentanyl in the heroin they're snorting or something and being like, oops. I don't know.
Well, and at the time, River Phoenix was making a movie. And I forget what it's called, but it recently was like it was never. I think it was like a movie that was never released, and then it got a release. And Judy Davis was in it, the Australian actress.
Uh-huh.
And apparently, like she was just like an awful bitch to River Phoenix, and so. There's some lore around his death that was like, well, yeah, Judy Davis drove him back to drug abuse, which resulted in his death.
And let's not forget his brother, who has since risen to the heights of Hollywood. Leaf.
Yeah, Leaf was it.
Who has now risen to the heights of the Hollywood superstardom. And has taken the place, or we could even look at the lead of this movie, who, upon River's death, Christian Slater gets the role in Interview with the Vampire.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
so I think this was a mob hit. This was a Kennedy assassination style, back and to the left. Many agencies involved. I mean, talent agencies, of course. William Morris. And who's the other ones?
Creative artists
agency. I mean, They were all involved. It was a triangulation. It was a turkey shoot. River had no idea. Sometimes I'll watch a movie and just think, man, River Phoenix would have been so good in this.
I do actually feel bad. I mean, that's, people talk about whatever, like the potential of somebody who died early on or whatever. River Phoenix is the one that I think about a lot. Like,
yeah,
I thought he was great. I mean, he seemed so sensitive and
beautiful.
He was beautiful.
And he had such gorgeous hair, and he has such like honest eyes, like what was that movie?
The texture of that hair in My Own Private Idaho.
Yes,
just like zone out looking at the texture of the hair.
I wanted to be him after watching that. I was obsessed with that movie. I've owned it like 3 times, and either someone steals it or I leave it behind or something. But I always it's like you're seeing the movie Conspiracy Theory with Mel Gibson, how he's always picking up Catcher in the Rye. I'm always picking up like My Own Private Idaho. Yeah, but
people hate it. People hate it so much. I love it. I've always loved it, but people get really mad when you show them My Own Private Idaho for the first time now. They're like, what is this? Yeah. They just can't get over that it's like experimental and sloppy, and the Shakespeare stuff is like kind of corny, but I just love the whole package as it is. Obviously, the reason that anyone loves that movie is just the image of River Phoenix on that road.
Yes.
And like the first like 15 minutes, but the rest of it's fine, but a perfect iconic 15 minutes is great. And also that was kind of like as a gay teen renting that movie, that was one of the first like kind of tough, cool representations of homosexuals I'd ever seen. And the campfire thing was, as I'm sure it is for everyone, like a really romantic thing. But yeah, people really hate it. I feel like I've never covered a movie as like hated by everyone else talking on like my podcast as that one.
Wow, that's really I wonder why that movie was.
I love it.
Yeah, it was a seminal work for me too. It was when I was living in Chicago, and I was living like in hallways and shit, and I was like, and then I was living in a kitchen space, and I would have the VHS. It was like that and Buffalo 66 and Arizona Dream, and I would just rotate through the 3 of them. But it was like I even like the Shakespeare stuff because I'm an actor, so I like that they went there with it. Keanu Reeves gives a great performance in it as well. Everyone always jokes about how bad of an actor he is, but he's really good in that movie.
That's because people have no taste, and their ideas of what good acting is are like all wrong. They'll love this like overworked, like Meryl Streepy type stuff, but Keanu's good in everything. Like he's just weird. Like I know he's like a meme, like, oh, he's Keanu, he's so dumb, but like he's perfect.
Yeah.
Like, cause you just accept how he is. Like
he's just raw. And it goes to that thing I was saying earlier. It's like, it's not about like Meryl Streep, that you don't have to be Meryl Streep, and you don't have to be like Steve McQueen isn't even a great actor in my opinion. He just kind of like was made a face and was pouty and you don't have to be loud. He's just kind of natural. And like you said, Jack, it's like that. I think that I've always thought that like you're either just naturally good at it and you don't have that anxiety, or you just try too hard and you do Meryl Streep and you're always constantly hiding and like putting on like the Daniel Day-Lewis thing of like, I'm going to pretend that I'm Bill the Butcher all the time is like complete. Yeah, all that is just to get people to leave you alone.
Yeah. It's like, good for advertising, and it's like narcissism, but like a good like illustration of what happens when people become self-conscious and serious about acting, and as a result really bad at it, is Madonna's acting career, where in Desperately Seeking Susan and in her music videos she's very charming and natural and just like being herself, and then after she wanted to conquer the entire world and like excel at everything and stretch herself to the limits, every movie after that she just seems paralyzed by the camera. Like Body of Evidence, she seems terrified. Yeah. She's just like
I do really enjoy it. It is an interesting.
I love Body of Evidence. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Like when Willem Dafoe is like she's standing on the car and he's just standing up eating a pussy.
Yeah, breaking the light bulb in the parking garage. We'll never have a time like that again for like
oh man,
soft core.
Yeah.
The movies that you could rent to jerk off to
Mm-hmm.
and not feel weird about.
Yep.
Well, that's every movie for me.
Yeah. Well, there was. Yeah.
Okay, but on the River Phoenix tip, there's a movie that I have to recommend. It's a Peter Bogdanovich film from the 90s that has Samantha Mathis, River Phoenix, Dermot Mulroney, and Sandra Bullock. It's called A Thing Called Love.
Oh.
And it's about Samantha Mathis. She's like from, I don't know, New York or somewhere else, and moves to Nashville to try and become a country singer.
Mm-hmm.
And they all go to the same, it's kind of one of those movies that like takes place at this club where they all go and like try out their country music material. And River Phoenix is like up and come, trying to become a country singer, and Sandra Bullock is too. And it's just kind of like a strange, it's like a small movie, but it has these people who, go on to be bigger in various degrees. But it's kind of a sweet movie. Like, it's not that memorable, but it's worth checking out. And I think that's where River Phoenix met Samantha Mathis, is on that Bogdanovich movie, A Thing Called Love. The Thing Called Love, I think it's called.
Did you ever see a Dogfight?
I can't say
Lily
that
Taylor.
Yes.
Yeah, they used to show that on like IFC or Sundance, like when those channels showed movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that movie a lot. That movie's where they make a Trevor, did you see Dogfight?
No.
It's where they're like military men, and I think he's going off to war, or maybe he's going to Vietnam or something, and they make a bet like he can't seduce this really ugly girl who's Lily Taylor. And so the whole night he just like takes her out and tries to like seduce her. And then she finds out about the bet. But then he actually falls in love with her. And there's this like really beautiful scene at the end. It's like a Bob Dylan song is playing, and he's running off to the bus to go fight in the war. And she's staring out the window as the sun's coming up. I don't know. It's just like this really kind of with the music and everything. I don't know. I think it's worth checking out too.
Sounds good.
Yeah, you're a romantic, right, Brendan, at heart? Yeah, I think you'd like that one. And I'll have to check out that. What was the movie called that you said?
It's called The Thing Called Love.
Thing Called Love. Okay.
Yeah. It's a Peter Bogdanovich. He's kind of a new Hollywood weirdo.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, he's so revolting. I just, my skin crawls when I see 2 seconds of him being interviewed. What's her face? He's used perfectly in Sopranos as her therapist, as like the escalating levels of sleazy therapist.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was like Dorothy Stratton. He was like dating Dorothy Stratton, and then she died, and then he started dating the younger sister. He's just like filth, and it's all, his entire career is this like worshipped new Hollywood guy is just because of one movie, Last Picture Show, which is wonderful and a favorite of mine. But he was like right place, right time, and then you have a career as a talking head on every single documentary about movies they ever make until the end of time.
And he like kissed the ass of Orson Welles and a lot of like old Hollywood people, so they all liked him.
They were all doing that in the 70s, like their weird projects with Orson Welles. Who's that other guy that was like made an entire career of like, I'm friends with Orson Welles. I forgot what his name, a weird 70s director. Wait, hold up. Samantha Mathis is the protagonist of Atlas Shrugged Part 2, the hated Atlas Shrugged adaptations, which I have not seen.
I didn't know that.
I recently saw her on this show called Billions, which I'm not recommending to anyone, but she was on that.
Maybe that's why she was here. She lives on the block here doing that show. They filmed it.
I think her attitude towards you, Anthony, it was pure reaction formation, sloth man.
Anytime a woman doesn't find me attractive, I just assume she's a lesbian.
It was pure
Maybe she was
reaction.
triggered because you have that River Phoenix look, and it reminded her.
Like, yeah,
you have the kind of like early '90s fake Native American kind of vibe. You reminded her of Hard Times.
Yep, that's true, man. It all came back. You gave her post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah, you don't know what's going on inside someone's skull.
Yeah, poor girl. I'm sorry, Sam. Sorry, Sammy. Wait, so Jack, you had never seen Pump Up?
No, when you asked me to watch it, I thought it was like a black people thing. No, I was like, is that like a documentary about like rap, NWA or something? No, I'd never seen it, and I thought it was adorable. I watched it. It's really interesting how the soundtrack choices are. In like the late 80s, they would have seemed really like futuristic and modern, but now with so many years of nostalgia for like what was considered dated 80s soundtracks, this seems in a way more dated because of like the Pixies and the Sonic Youth stuff and everything that was like cutting edge at the time. And it triggered like a long dormant memory. I think I've seen the title of this movie in high school when I was like all into Sonic Youth, and I read this super boring biography of them. They're just insanely boring people, and it was just all about them like smoking hash out of thimbles and all of this. But I remember there being a big like section about the use of the song and Pump Up the Volume with Christian Slater. But yeah, looking at how there was a time when a Hollywood production for teenagers would openly espouse the values of free speech and be anti-censorship, which was the case until 10 years ago, when the youth were psyoped into becoming totally anti-First Amendment. It's really sad to see. And some people are still living in this moment. Like liberals still think that they're living in the moment of this movie where there's like some kind of like grown-up evangelical sort of threat keeping people from talking about sex, and anyone who thinks that doesn't understand the moment we're living in at all, because the censorship is entirely from the left.
Yeah, they won the war, then became the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
It's very strange. I was really kind of like I was thinking about how where it started from. So we know it starts from like the coastal cities, the coastal elites who espouse this shit, and it's usually in the uptown, in like the rich areas. But because they're in the rich areas, they're also like the professors, and then they teach the kids, and then those kids, they become professionals, and then they move to Middle America, which is where we lay our scene, and where Pump Up the Volume takes place. And you see like Christian Slater's dad is his mom and dad are total fucking shit libs, and they're completely oblivious to what's going on with their kids, but they espouse all this. You could tell like they just reek of this shit. They're not conservatives at all. They're trying to push things.
Oh, they're former radicals, as it turns out.
Right.
Yeah.
And
but they're so clueless. Like he's got this like pirate radio station in their basement
where he's yelling.
Yeah, and he's like
every night
listening to the Descendants and pretending to jack off.
Yeah.
And they just don't know what's going on.
I like that part where they walk in and Samantha Mathis is in there, and they're like, oh, okay. And then they come out of the room and they're like, hey, let's fuck, because our kid's fucking in there. That got them really horny to like want to fuck because his kid is fucking.
That scene was what struck me the most the first time I ever saw it, which my mom showed it to me when I was a kid, because my mom's a boomer, but she was obsessed with Gen X, and she showed me like this movie and Reality Bites and My So-Called Life, and also some of the music. But I watched it and I thought I was surprised at the reaction of the parents when they find him in there with a girl, but I guess they were so concerned that he wasn't socializing that it was a relief for them or whatever, or it's exemplary of kind of their attitude in general, about their kid.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So the thing is that it's supposed. So the movie's supposed to take place in suburban Phoenix, in a fake place called Paradise Hills. Which here in Phoenix we've got two suburbs, Paradise Valley and Fountain Hills, that are right next to each other. But it's shot in Santa Clarita, by the way. It was not Arizona. It was in suburban LA. But it's supposed to be this really suffocating atmosphere for kids or whatever. But this time I watched it, I was like, oh, to be in suburban Phoenix in the 90s, and they did not know how good they had it. Like
have ultimate freedom.
Yes.
He's just like has a separate wing of the house where he smokes cigarettes indoors and runs a radio show, and they don't even notice until someone commits suicide because of it and it's on the news.
Yeah. and when he's screaming at his parents, who are like, I don't know, making a little bit of an attempt to try and talk to him or whatever, he does seem, it seems really juvenile, I guess would be the word that I would use. Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't quite understand what his problem was really.
Yeah. And the, like, so if you watch the movie, you get, for me, I got a sense that, okay, so these like coastal elites move into this middle American flyover state suburb, and their attempt is to, I guess he's the commissioner of the school or whatever. Anyway, the idea I got from it is like, okay, so the coastal elites move to middle America. They want a kind of quieter life or whatever. They indoctrinate the kids, who then move back to the coasts. And then the coastal cities are forced to clean up the place because that's what the kids who are moving there are expecting. Because you would go to these coastal cities because you wanted to be around, at least when I moved to New York, I wanted to be around the shitty, grimy taxi driver fucking New York experience. I wanted that experience. But when I got here, it was actually just a fucking college town, like it is now. And so that didn't, I'm just confused as to like, where does it start? Did it start here, or did it start here, go to middle America, and then come back out and have to like spread its wing? You know what I mean? Like
I see what you're saying. Like there was like there's some kind of like cycle where flyover people are somehow affected into thinking I need to go to somewhere more sophisticated, but then they get to the more so-called sophisticated place and they force a kind of gentrification because it's not as clean and safe as the place that they've come from, and so they're somehow affecting that place. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And then the coastal places turn into these places where you want to avoid because that's where all the fucking the shit lib people live. But then you know what I mean?
Cultural exchange.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, that's perfect.
Those people are helping out the suburbs, and they meet in the middle with those drink wine while you paint classes. And then the suburban people come to New York and they make them feel bad about the rats, and they try and clean up a little bit, and they help each other in a way.
And now it's like the guy with the bleach blonde hair, it's like pretty like cringe and kind of like weird, and
he's kicked out for dress code. Like that's a really corny plot line, is that guy hangs out at school all day because he wants to go back to, he's a punk, but he wants to go back to school, but he was kicked out because of dress code.
Yeah. Well, he wore a midriff is what it was. He was on his belly button.
Well, that's how tyrannical. He was kicked out for the dress code, but the truth is that he was kicked out because he was bringing the SAT scores down.
Yeah, there's that whole like reveal at the end where it's like, this is the whole plot, and it's like the administrators had a list of students they wanted to oust for like bad grades or whatever to keep their status as a high SAT score
total
school,
fucking,
which is kind of like irrelevant to the the rest of the movie, but it's this like gotcha moment, and it gives
Correct.
like Ellen Green something to do, I guess, to go through a file cabinet. But the things that are like forward thinking and like timeless about this are the fact that he has to be anonymous to say what he wants to say, which is of course how it is now for everyone online, and the general kind of AM radio, talk radio rage that he has, which is explicitly identified with the right now and with conservatives now, because liberals, their programming is all in these like soft NPR, SSRI calming tones of superiority, and like that kind of like yelling and stuff is said to be an incitement to rage, inciting people's passions, as you see in the movie. So that aspect, if you just kind of look past the content of what they're angry about, because they're more like culturally spoiled than I can even imagine, because right now, like, we're all nostalgic for the freedom of fucking 2019 compared to now, where you're contributing to white supremacy and harming Black lives by like going outside without a mask, a vaccine passport, and all of this, or so they say. So yeah, these like kids that can do whatever they want and like chain smoke and have radio programs, and like they only get in trouble for like making jacking off noises and playing rap. Okay,
yeah,
well,
like,
that's the spoonful of sugar, like that's why it's so controversial, but it's also probably why people listen. Is all the jacking off, because when everyone's like huddled up, like trying to catch a signal, like in their cars out in that field, they're like, oh, he's doing it, he's doing it.
Yeah.
I wish it would be so much cooler if he was actually doing it, though.
They
have to make sure he's like innocent, and he's like, I've never even seen a cock ring.
That I love that when he says, I'm completely nude and wearing nothing but a cock ring.
Yeah.
Is that where you got your whole shtick, Brendan, about being nude?
I mean, no, but when I mean, maybe subconsciously, like the whole guy who's like whole persona is dedicated to jacking off, and he's in Arizona, and maybe he was the prototype.
Yeah.
Well, but for me, the movie is obviously not that sophisticated in its themes, and there's some really cringe idea concepts that he espouses, but for me it's just more the whole atmosphere of like this suburban place in the 90s, and the way everybody looks, and like that teacher with like the frizzy curly hair, and she's like the cool English teacher, like she is actually really attractive and cool in my opinion.
Audrey from Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, good call, dude. I didn't even catch that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And even the parents, even just like the parents and like their concerns point to me. And I don't know. I like the atmosphere of the movie. And I do like the ending when he's like broadcasting, like on the run from the FCC feds, man, broadcasting from the Jeep, and he's, and he reveals himself.
Well, this is the ending of the movie when they're all starting their radio shows, right? Like, this is why I picked this movie with Jack, because there was an episode early on where you talked about starting a podcast. It might have been the BAP episode. It might have been maybe a little bit after that or before that. I'm not sure, but you were talking about starting a podcast. And he said, look, when you start a fucking podcast, use copywritten music, fucking use the whatever shitty microphone you have. Don't fucking wait and get the fucking studio, and don't edit your shit, and don't fucking take it too fucking serious. Just fucking do it, because it's not going to be how it's going to be. And I heard that, and I was like, okay, I fucking blueprinted that. That's what I'm going to do. And so I think I might have made a couple of the first episodes private. It was just myself. But when I did that, I was going off of the hard, hairy model of like, I want to be that. I want to be like that's going to be my thing. I'm going to be the rage guy, and going off on this thing for like an hour and a half. But I took Jack's the inspiration that Jack gave to me, which was like, don't fucking wait. Just fucking do it, and don't get like use copywritten music. You do that thing, go for it, because that's fucking cooler than like the NPR fucking vocal fry of Terry Gross or whoever the fuck it is. That's cooler than that shit.
There's
And
a prior generation, like the first generation of podcasts, where professionalism, or what they think is professionalism, was like this like huge value, to have it sound like NPR, have no background noise, have all the silence edited out, have the cringe professional little introduction, like, this is the Jordan Peterson podcast, with your little like and subscribe, and like, this is, it's really funny that people think this is the only way that you can do podcasts, because like someone will comment about the sound quality or something. We did the first like year and a half of episodes with iPhone headsets. We didn't get mics until like the middle of season 2, and now people like want their podcast to sound worse, which is good. People, it's always been my kind of like theory that they should be long and kind of boring and have all the silences left in, all the background noise left in, because that is the element of immersion that gets you really into it, listening for hours on end. And it, like, I've been listening to some like normie podcasts that cover topics that I'm interested in lately, where they're like 45 minutes long and all the silences are edited out. So it's like that fast talking, like Gilmore Girls bullshit. It's so like, I just tune out. Like, I don't retain the information. And just like, I wish y'all would stop talking, and like there would be a sound of someone using the bathroom or something, But yeah, the important thing is you have to just like keep doing it, and doing it because you want to, not like starting a Patreon right off the bat or whatever, or expecting like results. That's a trap a lot of people fall into.
Yeah.
But thank you. I'm glad it had a positive effect on you.
Yeah, absolutely. You're a beacon of hope. In a world of shit, you are a beacon of hope. As well. And Brendan, you said that this is one of your favorite movies, and I have to say I agree with you, because that what you had said, Jack, too, about just like freedom of speech and of being he's almost like a superhero, where he's got these two personalities, and he's just like, he's socially inept. We were talking earlier, and you said like I'm look like a confident guy. I'm not a confident guy at all. I'm more of like I wear glasses, and I kind of but if you get to know me, I can joke around and kind of come alive.
Yeah.
But that I always liked this idea of the dual identity, and then getting that girl who looks like Samantha Mathis with dyed hair and blue eyes, or something, and being able to like, I don't know, find, and she's living that dual life as well, right? Writing him letters, because she's kind of like a poet or something, or fancies herself a poet, and sending him these letters. And I don't know. But I wanted to get more into your head about what it does for you, Brendan.
Well, I think I think that like the Christian Slater persona that gets on mic is actually really I just think it's really funny and charismatic, when he's like, do you ever get the feeling like everything in America is really fucked up, and the way that he talks is so it's just so him, and but I also identify with the character who's like, yeah, I'm not that effective in my life, I'm not that effective in my life, in my relationships with other people, or I don't make that big of a splash at school or whatever, but he has this like unique ability to connect with people, in this case through broadcasting. And he's like, I don't know, he just found his niche, and he becomes famous as a, and people are magnetized by him, and they don't suspect that it's him at all. You know, like what you're saying, this, he's got this other side to him that he hides from people. Is really something that I identify with, I think. I'm not saying that I'm as, you know, like I'm like this really charismatic person like Christian Slater or whatever, who can and the fact that he connects with he connects with everybody. This movie doesn't have that thing that like 80s movies do, where it's like there's cliques of students and like there's people that are like mean to the other kids or whatever. Like all the kids are treated really well. Like they're all really sensitive and they're all connecting with what he's saying. And I know that we've been like beat over the head with the you know, like the whole, you know, gay rights and tolerance and all that bullshit. But I'm not offended by that scene at all in the movie when, you know, he's like talking to the kid who is like being humiliated for like being attracted to another guy. Like it doesn't seem, I mean, this movie, you could say like the themes of it were really insidious and nobody knew what was coming. And it's actually was really bad for society. But I don't know. I'm not bothered by those aspects of this movie, because I just think it's a really, I guess I would just say that I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
The gay character, I like, because you can tell that he's actually happy about the gangbang. Like it's kind of done in this two-sided way where audiences can see it and think, oh, he was raped and bullied by these homophobes. That's like a normal kind of message thing. But also like that's every gay teen's fantasy, to be you know, the Kenneth Anger fireworks, to be gangbanged by a bunch of chads who are bullying you. So he doesn't sound particularly upset about the circumstances. He's just kind of like, you know, I like guys. It's weird because he's not exactly upset about being gay. It doesn't have the usual kind of like, I'm gay and I'm proud and I don't care. It's like this weird gangbang thing happened to him and he just wants to say it in public and be sort of proud of it. And that's what sets off the FCC, right? Because it's like pornography.
Yeah.
State lines.
Yeah. That's the trigger.
I'm calling the police.
The guy who wrote and directed this movie, Alan Moyle, who's Canadian, he also wrote and directed Empire Records. I don't know if he wrote Empire Records, but he directed Empire Records. And you can kind of see those characters being given birth in this movie, like by Christian Slater and Samantha Mathis particularly.
Oh yeah.
But you know, that movie, I mean, I loved that movie when I was a kid.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great movie.
The greatest movie ever. And I was so moved by Lucas being in love with Liv Tyler. That was the character I identified with when I was a kid. I was like the sensitive artist guy who like trying to get his courage up to tell this girl that but she's too distracted by Rex Manning.
Of course. They always are.
Yeah.
Trevor, did you see this movie before?
No, I watched it for the first time.
What did you think?
So I like it overall, and I think that, well, what's really weird is how hard it is to watch. It's sort of become meta in that sense. It's not online. It's not streaming anywhere. I found it on archive.org, which is a good source for like detritus on the internet. They also run the Wayback Machine. But if not for that, you have to have a hard copy.
I bought the DVD. Yeah.
Me too.
$5 on eBay, the old school Warner Brothers snapper case with the cardboard cover.
Yeah. So it's been scrubbed from the internet for whatever reason.
Because it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Truly
And
dangerous film.
So it's a film where the character's message is the message, and so the film has sort of become like the media within the movie. And the most preposterous thing I thought originally, because we were talking about this earlier, is how like everyone in the high school seemed to be unified that they loved his radio show. Jocks were listening to it, nerds were listening to it. You got the guy pirating it on cassettes. It was like a cultural phenomenon within that community, which I at first I thought was preposterous, because I'm like, nah, people in high school hate each other. They don't agree on anything. They bully each other for listening to stuff like this. But then I thought about it again, and I thought about what could actually unify a community full of people who are supposed to hate each other, who are taught to hate each other and bully each other. And what it is, I think, is to have a common enemy. In this case, that sort of suffocating suburban way of life.
And also being funny. Like, you can be popular with any crowd if you're funny.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, that's a great point. Yeah, humor cuts through it all. That's why I feel like the jacking off was so essential.
Yeah, no, I think that was critical. I think that was good.
Yeah.
I think it's like giving them something that they couldn't get anywhere else. Like anyone could get anywhere else.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Jock or a nerd or the, you know, whatever subclass is the blonde dyed hair and midriff.
The punk that just wants to go to school.
Yeah.
That's preposterous.
Hey, that was my favorite. That is the moment that always makes me smile, is when the camera cuts to the sign that he dropped. It says, "I have a right to an education." Like, let me back into school. That's all I want.
That I purposely got kicked out of.
Yeah.
I
mean, and it is a little cartoonish to imagine that the school principal is completely obsessed with just maintaining like the high SAT scores, and students are not falling into the normal trap when stuff like that happens, and being like, oh, screw it, I'll just go drink. Yeah. Just go shoulder tap and hang out.
Well, that's
the gutter, you know.
That's the thing, is that whatever generosity the movie has towards its teenagers, it does not have that towards any adults, really. I mean, at the end,
except for Ellen Green.
Yes.
Yeah. It's always the English teacher.
Yeah.
You know, hopefully now that she's fired from Hubert H. Humphrey High School, she can go and live out her dreams somewhere better. Like, she can move to Seattle.
This demonization of adults that runs through like 90s and 80s movies, it seems so strange now, because we've seen the results of there being no adults, because now there are no phases of life. Everyone is an eternal child up to the age of basically till the grave. Now you're just an eternal child consumer into your like young adult fiction and comic books and whatever, and everyone in power acts, it's like these people like AOC that act like gross, kind of like, you know, the spirit of this kind of like teen revolt bullshit, like that Antifa and like AOC, and it's all charged with that kind of like youthful politicized energy. And it's a total nightmare. And like, I've always liked older people and gotten along with older people better, and I love boomers and hate when people shit on boomers. So the world of like eternal youth and everyone being young and having this like rebellious energy that's controlled at the highest levels of power, and they're told what to do, it's a nightmare.
Well, yeah. And I mean that would have been a better, I mean, that's why I said I kind of referred to the movie as insidious, right? I mean, it seems like, okay, these kids are rebelling against a particularly like authoritarian kind of establishment at this school. But the thing is that attitude applied, writ large and applied to society is not very not very healthy. I think a good message for teenagers when they're experiencing, what I would have said to, if I was Harry Hard on, or Happy Harry Hard, and he was saying to his people, he was saying, like, being a teenager is hard, like you have to survive it. I would have said, yes, that all of the pain and suffering that you are experiencing right now is just, that's the tension of transitioning from a kid to an adult, and it's temporary, and these people are being, you feel like they're coming down on you and they're being hard on you, but they're just escorting you through this period in the best way they know how, without you doing permanent damage to yourself and society. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Yeah, you feel like you should give expression to all of your urges and to all of your angst all the time, and not being able to do that is like you're being oppressed. But really, we see that you're not rational people because you're fucking teenagers, okay? And your attitudes are influenced by your hormones and all these things. So yeah, we're going to come down on you a little bit hard, but you're going to come out of it eventually and become an adult. But that's not the attitude, obviously, that's expressed, that sophisticated attitude that's expressed.
What is the popular girl mad about?
I mean, that's
just
that,
like
okay,
being popular.
That really bothered me because I thought, oh, this is somebody who doesn't know what's best for them at all. You know what I mean? Like, her dad wants her to have a good life, like, and has her best interest in mind. And yeah, maybe like he doesn't know like the bands that she's into or whatever, like he doesn't care about that because it's dumb. But like, it seems like she had it pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's just a search for a transgression.
Yeah,
because the transgressive is always attractive.
Yeah,
like and and now the transgressive, the transgression is shifted into something different, and it's not the liberal stuff. It's more like it's just more like talking about I don't know. It's not so much of like saying the N word, but just saying N. Typing N. It's like and that's what I'm addicted to. That's what I like. I still like it. I want to listen to people who just speak freely and not have to be so tightly wound and stay on such a tight schedule or something. I want to either listen to or whatever, like people that break your normal day-to-day thing and speak those things that you're thinking. And so she's thinking
the whole appeal of the podcasting format right now is that it's still like largely unregulated, and it's the only place that you can say basically anything about the present moment that it does not dogmatically reflect the corporate Democrat liberal party line. And they're trying to put an end to that. They already have the framework in place with those think piece articles about the dangers of misinformation spread on podcasts, and it's not going to last. There's going to be some kind of AI to read what you say on podcasts and censor accordingly. But right now the entire appeal is that it's such an unwieldy format, and it's so direct that anybody can just record it, so you can hear things that are not vetted and decided by a shadow council of the dinosaur media.
Yeah, I looked at the principal as Hillary Clinton. I mean, this is what you get when you get a liberal president who's a woman. You're going to get psyche valves for everybody, like mandatory psyche valves And
I'm just trying to make you all better.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. She looks like Hillary Clinton. She speaks like Hillary Clinton, and she acts like Hillary Clinton. I was like, this. I said that this is what you get if you get a Hillary Clinton president. This is what you would have had.
It's a well-established Biddy prototype.
Yeah, and it's completely unaware. And
you get focus groups, you get bureaucratic red tape, you get endless meetings about how to abstractly improve things, wasting everyone's time, tons of paperwork, new jobs created to do new paperwork, tracking data on how to correct things. That's what you get with the female president.
Yeah,
this kind of like therapist psychotherapy angle that like, oh, everything can be corrected through our utopian fundraising measures.
Yeah,
what about
the
vice principal who was like her button, the muscle?
Oh yeah,
the
enforcer.
Super aggressive. I punched the kid in the face.
Oh yeah, he was kind of comic relief too, because he was a little bumbling.
Yeah,
the kids were always kind of one step ahead of him.
It's a good character.
That was my experience of school, was that there was always like a vice principal who was like the enforcer.
Yeah.
The yard narc, we used to call him.
The yard narc.
Yeah, but we had this yard narc that was a morbidly obese lady that we all called Bubbles. And at first she hated that nickname, but then she grew to own it.
Embraced it?
Yeah. And she was so fat that she couldn't walk around the yard, so she drove around in a golf cart, which actually gave her powers because she could hunt you down on that thing.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like a RoboCop melded with the golf cart.
Yeah, it was kind of dystopian.
I went through go ahead.
Perhaps in the future, all of our public schools, all educational institutions will be monitored by people on golf carts.
I had a vice dean who was they called them deans, and for whatever reason they called them deans in my high school, and he dressed like he had he had his hair feathered out, and he dressed like Hawaii 5-0, and he had like those like leisure pants, like baby blue flared out with like a tucked in aloha shirt, and everyone was on the walkie-talkies. We had security in our school, and they said Cisco is heading towards. He's going to jump off the building. He's going to jump off the building. I was going to jump off the second floor onto a pile of mulch, which was pretty. It wasn't going to be bad. It was going to be good. It was going to be just really easy. It was like a 14-foot high, and the second story was maybe 18 feet. So it was just a 4-foot drop. I was going to jump off of that, and everybody was waiting for me. I was running up the stairs to do it. And I heard on the walkie-talkie, he's coming up. Cisco's coming up. He's coming to the second story. So they grabbed me and they said, nope. And they took me to his office. And I sat there. And for the last day of school for me, because I quit school after that year, and I got my GED. And I sat there for about 2 hours listening to the vice principal tell me how I'm never going to do anything with my life. I'm a loser. I don't even try to do anything interesting because you don't have what it takes to do what it. And that it was like this fucking struggle session that he just sat there and was like, what do you want to do with your life? What do you think you're going to do? And I said, well, maybe I'll be a comedian, or maybe I'll be an actor. I don't know. I don't think you have what it takes to do that because you don't work hard enough. And the people who do those things work very hard, and you shouldn't do anything. I think you're going to have a really hard life ahead of you. And those vice principals, man, you never saw the principal, but the vice principal was always.
Yeah. The bad cop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like high school is the perfect.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, what were you saying?
I was just saying the principal's more like an executive, they're like,
the shadow government.
Exactly.
Yeah. The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. You know what I want to be is the head of the FCC and travel around in a limo.
Yeah.
That's another cartoon.
I'm being attacked.
That's the dad from Teen Wolf.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a Teen Wolf shirt. I bought the Teen Wolf shirt. It was just the Styles Teen Wolf shirt.
The like depiction of the FCC and like the overall kind of weird childish fantasy tone of this. I watched Oliver Stone's talk radio recently, and which came shortly before this, and this is kind of like the Muppet Babies version of that. You know, like
yes, dude. I mean,
all just
Alan Moyle must have seen talk radio and been like, "Do you ever get the feeling like everything in America is really fucked up?"
Yeah.
Well, I feel like
hear him saying that shit.
High school is the perfect. It's the perfect example for most Americans, or people who live in a similar education system, of what authoritarianism is. It's or like what not being able to be yourself feels like. It helps illustrate that, because it's the last time a lot of people will experience that. Depending on which line of work they go into, I guess it might be the last time where people are like constantly nipping at them for their ideas and their hair and their clothes. And
I loved high school. I like the narrative that like you're oppressed in high school and like it gets better, like you move to the city and then you like self-actualize and everything. It all went downhill for me. I was like popular and happy in high school and liked it, and then after that it just working a mind-numbing job and like having to answer to increasingly liberal authoritarian female managers was like the real like horrible rushing part of my life.
Yeah, I find work much more oppressive. Well, I went to an 80 student arts high school in Nebraska, and it was free. And I mean, the inmates were running the fucking asylum. I mean, there was no structure. We watched softcore pornography. I mean, not really, but like we watched art cinema like as part of that was the curriculum, and it was crazy, and we were freaks. In fact, there was a conformity to that, to being a freak at our school,
Yeah, I was really popular because I was the class clown, and I never did any work, and they would just go, Cisco, to the dean's office, and I would get in-school suspension, and I was like, that's great, because I was okay with doing the time and paying for the crime and being just. And then having all of the students look at me as I marched out, like, okay, here we go. And it was great. It was fun.
On a very basic, like just day-to-day level, again, depending on your line of work, some people have very regimented schedules at their jobs, but for a lot of people, it's the last time where they have to be up in the morning somewhere, in this room for an hour, and then in this room for an hour, and then in this room for an hour, and then you're free to go home to your parents, who probably have their own rules for you. So I mean, I made it, a lot of people I think grow up and continue that because that's what high school is designed to do. It's designed to train you to live like that. I actually was thinking that a perfect sequel for this would be Pump Up the Volume, but he just lives in his parents' house still and like does a podcast.
They should do a diverse reboot of this where it's a pro-censorship, pro-social justice radio host that gets funding from a think tank, and flown around like Greta Thunberg to go say how you have to censor everything or else minorities will be harmed, and the January 6th insurrection will occur if we allow free speech.
Yeah, they keep scrambling their signals and stuff through all these like clever underdog ways.
And they get to depict themselves as a victim of something on Twitter. They can just say that they felt vague feelings of rape or violence coming from those who thought they were wrong.
Somebody mistook me for a waiter.
Wait, what?
I said somebody mistook me for a waiter.
Yeah.
that you always see, like, I am a doctor of philosophy, but somebody thought I was a nurse or whatever.
Some like Asian like daughter of two doctors saying like somebody thought it was weird that I had the live squid in my lunchbox in 4th grade, so that's why it's a tragedy, you know. But yeah, if you tried to place this plot in the present context, it wouldn't even make any sense. You would have 12 consecutive callers that were saying they're trans just because they feel unhappy with the circumstances of modernity. That's what it would be. And
then Christian Slater would just be like, yeah, kill
you yourself. Are trans. Yeah.
Kill yourself.
Wait till 35 to kill yourself, but cause a lot of problems for everyone else and cost a lot of money before that.
Yeah, he doesn't even say the N-word in the whole movie.
No,
like it's not very based, you know. Like I thought maybe we would, you know, it's not very transgressive. But
I mean, it doesn't have a single black person in it, though.
No, it has one.
Oh, it does. It does. That's right. At the PTA meeting, there's that guy.
There's that guy, and then there's the guy when the vice principal, when he's like grabbing the kids and being like, "I fucking know what you're doing. I know what you're doing with these tapes." And there's a black guy going, "Hey man, you fucking around?" What? And they're screaming, and he's getting all right before he punches the punk guy.
That's right. Yeah,
black guy with the hat with the high top.
I remember that guy. He was whistling too.
He was like woo woo. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Why wasn't? Hey man, he would. Why wasn't he the first to go in that expulsion genocide?
Right.
Right. He probably had good SAT scores.
He had very good SAT scores.
Yeah. I was thinking about it as like the high school as a model for authoritarianism, how they really get mad when you actually insult the principal. Or the guy from the FCC. That's where they really turn cartoonish, and like Bluto from Popeye, like they turn red and start like smacking themselves, is when you insult them in public, because you're not supposed to insult them in public. But the basic fundamentals of free speech, I think, are to be able to insult anyone in public.
Yeah.
I saw this randomly. The YouTube algorithm sent me this video of this, and it's like, spoiled brat girl gets owned by judge. And she was like, you know, she was a spoiled brat, and she was like on some drug offense, and she was like not taking it seriously. And so he's like, I'm gonna charge you $5,000 for this. And she's like, whatever. And he's like, $10,000 now. And then she's like, well, screw you. And he's like, I'm 30 days in jail for contempt of court. And everyone's like commenting, it's like, yeah, he owned her. And I'm like, dude, that's authoritarianism. That's someone who got talked back to and made fun of and sent someone to jail for it. And people think that's cool. I mean, I don't know. I think you should be able to shit on whoever you want. That's the fundamental value of free speech.
Well, as they always say, as liberals always say, free speech does not mean freedom from consequences.
Right.
It does, though. It should. I mean,
well, it hasn't for a long ass time.
Yeah. It should. Yeah. I mean, obviously, you can't regulate how people react to what you say, but you can regulate how the government and institutions react to what you say.
Their reaction now is just to say that what you did is and it poses an imminent white supremacist threat, terrorist threat to society. And this can be saying, you know, something as simple as people should have free speech. That's a domestic terrorist white supremacist threat. That's the whole theme of the Biden administration, is the domestic terror.
Hate speech.
And that was written up in like 2014. It was like a document that was released by the like national security, was it the Homeland Security or whatever? They were saying like the next threat is going to be this it's going to be domestic, and it's going to be, the first thing they talked about was it was going to be white supremacists, and the second was going to be black supremacists, and then it was going to be also if you graffiti, it's an act of terrorism. If you're an environmentalist, it's an act of terrorism. You could be an environmentalist terrorist. There is this document that was released that you can look up on this. And I remember thinking this was during the Obama administration, that it was going to, they just set this blanket term out for terrorism that was all going to be domestic, and it was all going to be, they covered everything, so that everything is under this umbrella of you're just a domestic terrorist.
The dual concepts of terrorism and hate speech, which can be molded into whatever you want and applied to whatever group of people, that's just a way to legitimize increased surveillance and monitoring of everything. And they can always cherry pick a specific incident to deploy and like trump up in the media to make it seem real. But now, since the news comes straight to your smartphone in your pocket, and you're discouraged from looking at the real world and observing and noticing anything, that it doesn't matter how deliberately, observably false the narratives are. It just has no relation to reality whatsoever.
Yeah, it's like it's this unreality that we keep witnessing and living in, and we're all pretending like, like whatever your day job is, you have to just like pretend like it's real, and it's not real, and everybody knows it's not real. Everything down to the fucking masks. Everyone's like, well, you got to wear a mask, but everybody, when they're intimate and close, is putting down the masks and just taking them the fuck off and talking and spitting on each other and whatever the fuck, and everybody knows, but there's everybody knows, right? Exactly. Which it's a good song, but nobody it's like you're waiting for the fucking curtain to get drawn back to see the wizard, but nobody's drawing back the curtain. It's just, you know what I mean? We're living, we keep having to pretend more and more that okay, well, we have to pretend that this is real, that this is real, that this is real, that this is real, and none of it's real. And reality's getting lost. So nobody's fucking, and nobody's sucking, and nobody's snorting, and nobody's doing anything. Everyone's just like scared to just live and fuck in the streets and just have a good time. I don't know. It's a really shitty, boring, fucking depressing situation. I don't feel happy about it at all. I feel really depressed about it. It's just completely oppressive. And it's like, where do you go? How do you break through? How do you, what is it that will, shut this shit down and have everybody fucking in the street again?
Everyone has to stop. Everyone has to have some balls finally and stop being frightened of the social consequences. That's the entire driving force behind all the successive psyops of the 2010s that led to the draconian authoritarian moment that we're in right now, because everyone is saving face. The most legitimate excuse is to maintain employment, but everyone has to save face with their libtard social circles as well. So no one will speak obvious truths publicly. And I think normies who their minds are not really fit to think about politics or like the larger scale and scope of culture anyway, their brains are just melted and they don't even know anymore what's real. Like you see a little bit of fortunate increased rebellion with the second comeback that they deployed COVID again, that the normies don't take the masks and the virus as seriously. Online, of course, they all do, and it's like text and everything, but there's just not the religious extremist attitude there was for the first phase of COVID and masks, when they thought that there was hope of coming out the other side and not having to do it anymore. But yeah, it really all comes down to someone having the courage of their convictions. But no one does. There's always an excuse. Right wingers always make excuses. Oh, my family. Oh, I can't own up to any of my ideas or what I think because my family will be destroyed. And I don't know. How does anyone do anything? I'm like kind of cold and unsympathetic about people's excuses for just not doing the right thing, because I don't lie and I've always said everything that I thought publicly. So
yeah.
And paid the price for it.
And there's a time when the worst thing that could happen to you, and it's actually pretty bad if you think about it, was to be expelled from Hubert Humphrey High School or whatever. And it is, I mean, that is could be a horrible consequence for someone. That means you don't go to college, and you have all these people in your ear being like, oh, if you don't go to college, you're going to end up like working as a janitor. And that seems like a life sentence. And I feel like a lot of adults now have the same attitude towards being canceled.
Yeah.
It's like being expelled. And they're like, oh, I've got to.
Yeah. You and Jack hit on something, which was the career, like losing your job, and the idea of like, I have this job of, I don't want to lose it. And if I lose it, I'm not this person anymore. Who am I?
Yep.
If I lose this job,
Exactly.
It's my identity. It's
Exactly.
It's how I pay the rent. The rents are exorbitant. It doesn't even matter where you live anymore. The rents are just stupid.
Too damn high.
Right. They're just too damn high. And that's why you see people wanting to buy Airstreams and just live off the fucking land. And but everybody's like, suffocating under this idea that like you have to have a job, and it has to be a good job. And then once you get one, you can never lose it, because if you lose it, you're nobody. And it's fucking lame and boring and bullshit. And me, I'm attracted to, there's people at work, they do extra work, and you listen to their lives. And this guy was a sports writer, and then he lived in Hawaii, and then he was a paddle racer. And then this other guy, he was working in finance on Wall Street, quit his job, and then worked as a bartender in Miami for 25 years or whatever it was. And now he's doing extra work. It's like, that's to me, that is the ideal, is to not be, just to not have to, is to be able to let go of whatever it is that you think is security. Seek out.
It is scary a little bit. I mean, I'm surrounded by like an army of homeless people in where I live in Tempe. And then also like some of those jobs that people who don't have like jobs have, like delivering fast food and driving Uber, like those are just horrible alternatives. It scared the shit out of me. But I think there's also, if you're putting your message out there, and like we are, and we're seeing that Jack speaking the truth, you have this opportunity with like Thaddeus Russell's school and all that. Like I figure if I get canceled, I'll just make there's a career path of just being professionally canceled. Maybe.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, I sure hope that exists, but I mean, it seems to, but everyone online, right and left, it doesn't really work a real job, and they just like float about nebulously on eternal vacation with mysterious funding sources. And sometimes I feel like I'm the only person on the internet who like has to show up somewhere and actually work. And I just really don't want to do it anymore. It's like, how does every third rate talking head just just eternal email job vacation. But yeah, the new normal as it is two types of jobs: email jobs and then Uber Eats, and that's it. And the more COVID that they do, the more serious that divide is going to become, with this underclass of largely immigrants, which they're blind to, delivering $45 fast casual food 3 times a day to them in their condos as they fill out spreadsheets and go for little 30-minute walks and work out and stuff. And it's absolutely nightmarish. There's no other job now. There's not even like, they always use the example of like, you're going to work at McDonald's for like failures. It's like, that's increasingly not even an option because of automation.
Yeah. You're going to have to, deliver lunch.
You're going to have to use your car and your smartphone to deliver lunch for people.
Well, I mean, it's a fucking crime that you have to work a job. You should be making what the Red Scare girls make. Was it like 45 grand a fucking month? You should you should be making that.
And if you're listening to
this, if you're listening to this, give Jack subscribe to the Patreon. There's no fucking reason. There's no fucking reason why Jack should be working a fucking job. He should be making 45 grand a month.
Give him give Jack 10% of your monthly income.
Yeah.
Thank you. I agree.
The work that you do, the work that you do culturally and just like the what you did just for me. I'll speak for myself. What you did for me in terms of just your product, right? You do the talk about perfumes and you talk about movies. I watched the movies, I bought the perfumes, and the patchouli you recommended, the bourbon French.
French.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like it changed my way of being. If I don't wear it, I feel like shit. If I put it on, I feel amazing. When you watch the movie that you recommend, that you pair with, you learn things. He's educating you. He's giving you a fucking service. And aside from that, it's like this raw, unfettered. It isn't. I don't know how to say opinion. It's because that's almost like downgrading. But it's just like, I don't know. You give this experience to people, and it doesn't matter what your politics are. It really doesn't, because nobody gives a shit about any of this. It's all fucking theater and it's all fucking fake. If you listen to Jack, you listen to this podcast, you will be elevated and you'll go, oh my God, I feel so much better that I'm wearing this scent here. I'm smelling myself, but people are smelling me. And I like that people don't like it. And I like that I like it and other people don't like it. I feel like an individual now. And I've watched this movie and I feel fucking cultured about it. And I feel like I feel smarter from the experience. I feel better from the experience. This guy should not be fucking working, folks. If you have the money, give him the fucking money. That's all I have to say. And give Brendan the fucking money too, because he's a great person. He's a good writer. He's a great director as well. I've worked with directors. This guy is great. Give him your fucking money. Just give them all your money. You don't have to give me anything.
Give the money to Jack. Jack,
thank you. Thank you, Anthony. That's really kind.
Yeah, but I mean, you changed a lot of people's lives, Jack. That's true.
Thank you.
You changed my life.
You guys are so nice.
Yeah. You've changed my life, and there's other people that I've turned onto your show, and it's changed their life. And there's no fucking reason that you should be working a job. You should be relaxing and drinking fucking Mai Tais and wherever the fuck you want to drink, and just having Cabana Boys rub oil on you while you get a beautiful fucking even suntan. And
you're too kind.
and the way that people have profited off of you is, to me, it's not so much it's not a crime. It's just really unfortunate because Because when you hear Perfume Nationalist, you go, oh, dangerous. It's like, no, go to the danger. Go towards it. Go towards the light. And once you break through it, you'll laugh your ass off. You'll fucking get educated. And you know what? You'll smell better. Like, how the fuck? I never even knew that like a scent could change my way of being, could change my attitude. If I don't wear it, I feel like shit. Well, not like shit, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like 100%. When if I put it on, though, I'm like, I feel great. And I don't give a shit if you don't like it. I fucking smell my shirt at the end of the day. I'm like, oh, I still got it. I still got that scent in there. It changes your behavior, changes your way of thinking. It's a beautiful thing.
Mysterious sense that people don't think about. And yeah, it adds a particular exciting flavor to every day.
It's a lost art form. So it's totally lost. But you're bringing it back. I don't know. It's just a beautiful thing that you do. So if you have the money, give the fucking money to Jack, please.
Oh, I appreciate that so much.
Yeah,
it made my day.
Now you said that you don't like to talk about sex because you on your show
no, that was
your brother.
I just meant specific stories about STDs. I was just kidding, but
okay.
No, I talk about like God knows every single episode of that podcast is about like porn and stuff. But I just wanted to say my favorite aspect of Pump Up the Volume is Samantha Mathis's performance. I was always in love with her as a kid, from the Mario movie and from Little Women, and as the voice of the fairy in Fern Gully. And she has and radiates an erotic energy in this that is unparalleled. I love that she's just so aggressively into the Christian Slater character and just wants to tear off his clothes, and she's just like he's uncomfortable with it. He's scared of her. She just like completely wants to be railed out by this guy, and is so sincere and so open about it, and it rules. And her topless scene is great. That would never happen now, where they would be like gratuitous exploitation or whatever, but it's so natural, and I believe that girl would just take off her top for him.
Yeah, you're right. She's excellent.
When a girl wants to have sex with you, she makes it known. And she's got great tits, and they stand up high and proud. And Christian Slater too, rocking a nice body, really solid body.
I never really found him that hot, but in this, I guess since he's doing less of the like Jack Nicholson thing that he does in like Heathers and stuff, and he's kind of like, he's sensitive, like
he's way better,
he's like cuter.
Way better, way diverse.
And Heathers is great. Don't get me wrong, but I love his performance in this. And how tall is he? Like, he didn't seem that tall, I guess.
He's about our height. Brendan, you're about what, 5'9", 5'10"? 5'7". I'm up 5'10". He's like between our height. He's between us. He's not. He's taller than you think, but shorter compared to. Jack. You're what, 6'3"?
6'3" or 6'4".
Oh my god, it's so tall. And Trevor, you're what, 6 foot?
5'11".
5'11".
I'm not gonna do that.
Just give yourself the bump. You're 6 foot. Shut up. You're 6 foot. You're 6 foot.
I'm 6 feet too. I mean, I might as well just say 6 feet. Round up.
Round up.
6 foot. My dick is 8 inches long. It's just
just round up.
I round up. Yeah.
There's an episode of Ellroy Boys where like the first minute and a half in, I'd say how big my penis is.
It's huge, right? It's got to be big.
Well, yeah, I think it's huge.
Well, how big is it?
It's 4.5 inches hard.
4 inches is average, so that's bigger than the national global average. And
thank you, Jack.
The Shadow Cabal has been exaggerating and inflating dick size statistics for years, and it's a crime.
Well, also Brendan, Brendan is a very smart guy, so he's being manipulative. So his cock is probably 7 inches. but
It's not.
he's preparing.
No, I'm telling you right
he's preparing. So when you see it, you go, "Oh my god!"
It glows.
Yeah,
like
it glows.
Pulp Fiction suitcase.
Well, so I just with this movie, one thing I'm curious about is how, because it's like agitprop, like the movie's a call to action.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just wonder how teenagers actually reacted to it when it came out initially. Like, what was their feeling? How did it affect actual teenagers in that year that it came out?
It didn't do well at the box office. It was a flop. It ended up making 11 million, but at the first week it made like 1.
So not that many people saw it when it came out, but I just wonder, among the ones who did see it, what effect did it have on them? I'd be curious, because it has a lot of dated elements now where you kind of are alienated from the feeling that it could give you, the potential feeling of like empowerment that it could give to you. You have a lot of distance from the movie, so you're not as affected by the message. I just wonder, the kids in the moment, what they might have thought.
I'm married to a Gen Xer, and she never saw it and thought it was funny. She just thought it was like ridiculous.
There were just so many movies from the late 70s through the 90s about like glorifying teens destroying high schools and like rebelling in this way, like, Over the Edge, Rock and Roll High School. Everything had like teens just blowing up high schools because it was this, even like the Porky's stuff that all ends with them like blowing up. It's just terrorism basically. The end of every movie, like when they blow up that ship. But it wouldn't really stand out at the time. I don't think the sound of it is certainly different from anything else going on. I like the Cliff Martinez soundtrack. That's the same. It sounds exactly like the music he did for Sex, Lies, and Videotape, which was one of my favorite movies.
That is a great movie.
It's the same year.
Yeah, I feel like those people, the Gen Xers, were more into Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Yeah, but I love
Fast Times is a lot grittier, like edgier than this. This is very sweet.
Yeah, and this it's kind of echoes a kind of like Footloose type of vibe of like, well, this is kind of a Footloose thing. And it's why you don't see this in 4K or something. Like it's hard to find. It's not on any streaming services because Footloose was so like unrealistic and weird that but it was so popular at that time for whatever reason that they went with that. We're gonna go with this one because this one's so stupid. And
I was just thinking about how in Footloose the religious right is the bad guy, and in this the bad guy is sort of a liberal maternalistic
bureaucracy,
grade chaser. Pro achievement, pro harmony.
Well, the movie's it would be just, it's hard to like categorize with our current.
It's not like a neat thing that you can transfer.
And so it's not going to be like, there's not going to be like, based memes of the movie either, Right. So, but I would appreciate some special features. Like, I'd like to hear about. I would like to know more about this movie and the making of it, and this guy Alan Moyle, the director, and what the fuck he was thinking when he wrote it. I'd be curious. Those are the kinds of things I'd be interested in, and the anecdotal information about what was going on with Samantha Mathis and all the people that were in it, and some of those people that you never see again. Like the guy that plays the punk guy. I don't even think he has you can't even click on his name on Wikipedia.
He ended up marrying Maura Tierney, who was a sort of second-rate star of News Radio, and she was also Jim Carrey's ex-wife in Liar Liar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. She's a very attractive lady.
And he was married to her for a while. He never changed his look. He always looked like what's that guy's name? He was part of Richard Hell. He looked like kind of like Richard Hell in the Voidoids.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And I believe he's part
Pat
of the
Smear vibes.
Yeah.
Wait, that guy was married to Maura Tierney?
Yeah, and they divorced, I think, in 2016 or something.
Oh,
he probably supported Trump, and she divorced him.
Okay, so along those, there's this mural that I drive by every day in Tempe, and it's got like these hands, and like one of the hands has like a pencil in it, and it's in handcuffs, and there's like maybe like even like a Hispanic lady in the background or something, and it says education is not a crime.
Fuck.
And I'm like, I just every time I drive by it, I was like, yeah, man, if they let out all the incarcerated learners and teachers of the, don't walk down the street with a textbook. That's all I gotta say.
That's why women shouldn't be in positions of power, because that's what goes on in their little brains, is that with enough education everyone can be changed, because I don't believe in human nature except when it comes to being mad at a white man or whatever, but it's just a lack of education and social engineering and funding, and we need to have more meetings about it.
One man's education is another woman's indoctrination.
Well, the thing is that there's some real cognitive there's some dissonant messaging on school and education, I don't know if you guys remember, like the thing that they talked about on NPR, like in the 2010s constantly, was the school to prison pipeline. Which
is that just they give minorities bad grades?
I don't know what it means even.
I think it's more of like they just like a system.
Yeah. It's like school is just a training ground for becoming incarcerated.
Yeah, it's true. I think it's true. I think like some of it is true in terms of certain people just want to be told what to do all the time and want to always feel like they're being oppressed.
Yeah.
You don't, when you're in school, it's like you got to get these tests and you got to turn your homework in, you got to do this work, and you don't want to do it. And so you get successful at failing, like I did. And then you just kind of seek that out within whatever you do in life. And then you just seek out, they feed you in there and you can get a job and you just like hang in with the homies.
Yeah. So, it's low effort. You can like kind of be a kid forever and you don't have to work or worry about anything. They're those guys that get out of prison and go right back because they like it, because they don't have to think about anything, and their whole lives are decided for them and they're used to it.
I think I should, maybe that's for me, what I mean? Like,
no, not at all.
I could read, like, sometimes I complain like I don't have the discipline to even I want to read more. I wish I could spend, if I was in prison, I would. There wouldn't
no. Do extra work. I worked on Friday. I was there for 9 hours. I didn't do I never stepped 1 foot on set.
Did you meet Ice Cube?
That's what
I was thinking. I was like, you're how old are you? You worked on the movie Friday as an extra?
Friday of the week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That'd be great. I wish I did. That'd be awesome. Wearing Janko jeans and a backwards hat.
Tonight in Phoenix. Well, maybe it's not. I don't know if it's tonight, but I keep hearing on the radio this concert that's going to be coming to town at the Phoenix Suns Arena. It's going to be Ice Cube, Too Short.
Oh my God.
I mean, it's like a total throwback to 90s rap concert.
Yeah. Old school, they call it now.
Yeah. I would like to go. I don't know if I could go and kind of blend in. That'd be nice. I don't know if I could.
Well, if you wear that hat, you're going to blend in.
I remember one time I went to see this R&B singer named Maxwell. I don't know.
I remember Maxwell. Yeah, sure.
Maxwell in Chicago with my friend. And we were the only 2 white people at the entire concert. And it was like very awkward.
Did you hook up with a black girl?
I did not.
Huh.
And then afterwards, there was a huge confusion in the parking garage where I was the only person who'd paid for parking on foot. It was one of those, nobody could figure that out. So everybody was just waiting at the gate to get out. And I was like whipping my ticket, like, you got to pay on fucking foot. And finally, some black guy just got out of his SUV, ripped the gate off, and he yelled out, somebody had to do something. And then everybody and I drove out with the thing was broken off. I'd already fucking paid like a chump.
No, dude, you gotta follow the black guys, man. If they ain't fucking doing it, you gotta just follow.
Yeah. Dude, Maxwell, man, he only played for like 60 minutes. Like, it was a complete ripoff.
That's the thing about those shows is, you know, my illusions about going to rap concerts were put to an end when I saw Lil Kim in like 2010, 2011.
Yeah.
And she showed up at 1:30 a.m., bopped around the stage to a recording of Biggie for about 20 minutes, and had her guys like filming the audience and told people to cheer because it was for a documentary, and then just left. And that was like the worst concert going experience I've ever had. And I hate her now. I hate her so much. She's not a fun meme for me at all. But yeah, with the rap shows, you're gonna be waiting a while for them to show up.
Yeah, it's a racket. I don't think it's not like Bruce Springsteen who's going to come out for 4 hours when he's
the seated boomers are waiting. It starts promptly at 7:30 p.m.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
That's how live music should be, man. I'd go to concerts more if it didn't have to stand around with a Lone Star beer waiting until milling around until 1 a.m.
No fucking way. I don't want to be around all those people.
I hope COVID killed that off for good. I'm so sick of that aspect of live music. I had enough of that for my entire life.
Yeah, when I was in my early 20s, like, live music was my life, and spent a lot of time sitting around drinking. I mean, that was what it was. Let's just like waiting around and, hey, show's at 8. Yeah, right.
Yep. You have to drink to make it bearable.
Yeah,
you know, it's just standing around. It's torture.
It really is.
Nobody was having fun. Like, it was. Yeah, it sucked. I think.
I think live music really ended for me when I went to see Sleep, a band that I liked at the like ACL Theater, which is like the most like NPR museum type place where you can't like smoke a cigarette outside on the fucking balcony. It's a nightmare. And just like seeing this like stoner rock band in this horrible NPR museum setting, I just got so bored and like left to go to Whataburger like halfway through. And I was like, yeah, this is kind of a racket. It's not really enjoyable for me anymore.
Yeah.
I went to see Beirut. You know that song Beirut? You know that band Beirut?
Yeah.
I like them as like I like their recordings. I like the guy. I went to like the LA, the Greek or whatever it was, and it was the worst thing I had ever been to. The only other line, if it was klezmer music, I was in the front row in like the gated area, and I was just thinking, like, anybody behind me, how the fuck are they still here? This is the worst fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. You can only be at some fucking shitty dive bar and then be able to sort of enjoy this. The only place that I was at, it was I went to, and it's really awkward now, was Julian Casablancas's band, The Voids. Now that, like, with the Strokes in their last album, like now he's really sort of political and all about like climate change or something, but the Voids,
that's rock and roll, baby.
That's rock and roll.
Climate change. Rock and roll.
It's really bad.
Live Aid horseshit.
Yeah. And but the Voids at this little Brooklyn venue, it was really tiny. I told Trevor about this, and he was really like, you really came down on me. I told you I was like pogo dancing because they did a really good live show, but I was pogo dancing. And I remember, and Trevor's like, what the fuck? You're like 35 years old. You're pogo dancing. And I was jumping up and down. I was feeling really great. And afterwards I was talking to this girl and she said, I came here because my sister wanted to go. I was like, oh, how old are you, young girl? She said, I'm 16 years old. And that was the last live show I went to because I realized like I was completely out of my element there.
Well, at a certain point, Anthony, and I'm glad to hear that you were pogo dancing.
Yeah, I was jumping up and down, punk rock, you know.
I don't know when it happened, but like people stopped acting uninhibited at it was just like they would just be like, it'd be like the Melvins or something like,
yeah,
shredding and people would just be. Like I remember when I was a kid, going to shows at Pershing Auditorium. It's in Lincoln, Nebraska, and seeing like I saw Disturbed. Losing my mind and acting insane, and that was the whole point. Was like you were releasing with everybody else and acting uninhibited. And then as I got into like indie, like into punk and indie and alternative music, nobody was acting. You just the requirement was that you stood there, and if you didn't stand there, you were. I mean, that was humiliating. I mean, you were like you would see that sometimes that guy who was like dancing or whatever, and you'd be like, "Ha, look at that fucking retard enjoying himself."
Right.
Yeah. And that's troubling to me.
Yeah, I never wanted to. I just want to, if I go to something like that, I want to get drunk and have a good time and dance.
Yeah. I mean, that's the point. Like you could just listen to the music. Like if you're just contemplating I don't understand. It doesn't make much sense. I mean, I do understand there's a little bit of just like visceral contact with music. Okay. Sure. I'm not being willfully, but still it just seems like the point should be to let go and have a good time.
I think it's because of the idea of cool. And I didn't understand what cool was until
That's a concept, honestly.
It is. It is if you don't do heroin. Because when I did heroin, I understood what cool was. Cool is heroin. When you're on heroin, everything is like, I don't want anything too intense. I don't want this. Let's just calm. I just want to just chill. And I don't want to be like touched or like any loud noises. And when people screaming, I'm like, hey, this is intense. Like this is enough.
Sounds like autism.
It does. Yeah. And I think that got transferred into people who don't do heroin.
That's the dominant cultural mode right now. Music is so over. People have total contempt for music. Like even playing like the Beatles or the Rolling Stones in public, like people find that intense. Like just like regular like 60s rock music, they're like, ooh, somebody's having a rock concert. Like some woman will walk in and anything that's besides the those like Nora Jones vocal like versions of recent pop hits that they use on the trailers for Amazon series, where you know what I'm talking about, like anything besides that
soccer
music,
mom rock,
or like the Jack Johnson Island vibes type like ukulele thing, they think is too intense and is harshing their vibe. And they
suburban music.
Yeah, people really hate music now. They find it really uncomfortable to hear anything, even like AC/DC or whatever. Like, whoa, this is a little intense.
So
random.
There's a an industry around building playlists for public spaces. It's often used in like retail or whatever, but there's a whole industry around people who kind of like vibe out these perfect playlists that just kind of please everyone enough and don't go off script.
And you'll see that the names of the prefab Spotify playlists are all like golden hour, chill vibes, non-caffeinated Just like
Chardonnay.
I want one called Disgusting Restroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, Festival Outhouse.
Hate those playlists, man. No matter what it says it is, if it's like 70s or 80s, it'll just have Toto Africa and Carly Simon, You're So Vain, and those are like the two songs from prior to like the year 2005 that like normies know, and so they put that on everything. It's horrible.
Yeah. I came to a revelation about live music a few years ago where it's like, I don't think I'm ever going to buy a ticket to see someone I want to see anymore because they're all old, or they're not going to give I'm going to have too many expectations going into it because I know their music. And now I enjoy just going out to bars that I know have music and going to see someone I have no idea who it is. And I feel like that's a very satisfying live music experience.
Yeah,
I don't go to concerts anymore.
Yeah, a bar band is perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like a bar band with like a guy just like wailing blues guitar.
Blues Hammer.
Yeah.
Blues Hammer.
Yeah. If you like authentic blues, you got to check out Blues Hammer. They're so great.
What kind of new music?
I'm gonna be picking cotton all night long.
What kind of new music are you even gonna see? Like one of those like chicks, like non-binary chicks in mom jeans.
Well, I like to be surprised. That's the maybe it will be.
Maybe maybe.
And then I'm just
highly doubt you're gonna be surprised.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm
going to start wearing mom jeans, I think.
Yeah, mom jeans.
Yeah, own it.
Yeah. I mean, you know, they're
I'm gonna have a bare midriff and mom jeans.
Yeah.
I'm going
with some heels. Put some heels on.
And a mask that you never take off.
Yeah.
Even to eat. That's the dominant teenage style. It's like the girls are gigantic. They're like 6'2".
Yeah, they're so big.
They're like thundering like R. Crumb illustration type girls, and they have their mom jeans and the jiggling bare midriff, and then like the Nirvana shirt from Target that's like cut off, like, and then the mask that they never take off ever.
Their feet are like size 12s in men's.
Yeah, they're massive.
Where the fuck do these women come from? They're all tall now. Why are you tall?
And yet there aren't any big sizes like for anyone. Like I can't find anything that fits my shoulders at all anywhere. Yet all the teenagers I see are like bigger than me, including the girls. Like just
What, Jack? What are you, a 46? And Jack?
I don't even know.
Oh, man.
Like a 2X or a 3X. But the problem is with the prefab sizing, if it's big enough for my shoulders, which it never is, it has this like billowing circus tint front and like short dinosaur arms, because I also have like long arms. Just nothing fits. I'm just used to clothes never fitting.
Yeah.
If I were rich, I'd go to a tailor, but yeah, one day.
One day soon.
Hopefully. Well, I've got to piss so bad.
I do too.
I'm gonna take off in a minute.
Okay.
Thank you so much for all of your kind words and for having me. It was really fun.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on. This show wouldn't be in existence if it wasn't for you. You are a guiding beacon of light in a world of dark. And if you aren't, I would assume that anyone listening to this is subscribed to your podcast. But if you're not, you should definitely be subscribed to the Perfume Nationalist.
Like and subscribe. And can you still join your class that you're teaching? Yeah, you can join it until tomorrow. It's at 7:30 Central. Tomorrow is the first one. And then the following 2 Sundays as well. So
okay. Oh, the following. Okay.
Yeah, right. It's 3 weeks.
I'm going to get this out by tomorrow then, and this will be so that people can, if they want to, join. And
sweet.
All right, and then Brendan, what?
I said, great to see you, Jack.
Great to see you, Brendan. Always a pleasure.
If you want to peace out, Jack, you go right ahead and go take your piss,
right.
and then we'll do our exit with Brendan. No problem.
All right. Bye, guys.
Love you, man.
Yeah,
you,
great
Jack.
to meet you, man.
So, Brendan.
Mm-hmm. Everybody's turned off the show.
Yeah. Not at all, dude. Not at all. Personally, I like your long hair. If you want to get a haircut, I was thinking maybe tell them short fade number 3.
Okay.
And just tell them to leave it long on top.
Okay. I like that.
That's what I tell I get my stepson a short fade number 2. It's pretty short, but a short. Whenever I would get haircuts, I would get a short fade number 3.
Okay.
And I think it'll shape your hair up. Just tell them to leave a little length on top.
Okay, cool.
But you got to take a pee, right?
Yeah, whatever. I've been, I'm used. I can hold it, man.
I know. It's almost.
I can hold it because I always have to pee. Like I told you, I've got a large prostate, man. Yeah. So I always have to pee.
There's going to be a generation of guys afflicted with podcaster's bladder.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So are you gonna do the same thing with me? Are you?
Yeah. I'm going to. I was gonna wait a second. But I was gonna say that because we're on a tangent, and then I'll end it. But
what were you gonna say?
Trevor, you told me you hold your piss for like 8 hours once.
Wow.
He holds his piss. He'll make a deal of holding his piss.
Oh yeah. I like to see how far I can go.
Yeah.
All right.
And so I did that with myself once.
I think one time I had 6 pints of ale coursing through me.
I pissed myself a few times.
Really?
Yeah.
Like full on or just little leaky?
One time full on while I was driving.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
I just couldn't. I couldn't find anywhere to use the bathroom, and eventually I was just like, it just happened, and I felt like I was never going to recover from that moment, and it turns out I recovered pretty quickly, and now I tell people about it all the time. Whereas at the time I thought, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. I'm never going to recover. I need to never tell anyone. Now I don't care. Why?
Yeah. I've pissed people's beds and couches, and I've mostly from being drunk.
Yeah.
I've pissed myself many times. Not to the point where I don't even. Not only that, last year I got so drunk I pissed on the floor. I pissed on this floor right here with carpeting. I took my pants off and I just pissed on the floor.
Yeah,
and that's just sometimes that's how you roll.
Yeah. Well, one time I had been drinking, and I also was like taking Xanax at the time. And I basically was peeing in my closet, and I was with my girlfriend at the time, living with my girlfriend, and I was peeing in the closet, and she was like, Brendan. And so I kind of came to at that moment where I'm peeing in the closet. And she's like, Brendan, you're peeing in the closet. And I was like, and I kind of like, I realized I was peeing in the closet, but I was just like, what? I can't pee in my own fucking closet. Like I was like a fighter on it. Like, guy can't even pee in his own closet. Like it was the right, like I was doing it on purpose.
Yeah. I pay my taxes.
I've earned this.
Yeah.
Man, okay. Well, The Isolation Chamber is a hell of a show.
Thank you.
You should subscribe to it. It's available on Apple. It's available on SoundCloud. It's available on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes.
Please listen to it. I have the honor and the privilege of being a partaker in the podcast. It's a great show. And every episode is only 30 minutes, and it's a great time. It's a good time. It's an entertaining show. Please listen to it.
Thank you.
Please listen to it. And while you're at it, the Ellroy Boys is a hell of a podcast. You get Brendan, you get Blauergeist, you get Sam, you get all these guys. It's a great fucking show.
Thank you.
I found them through Jack. Anytime any one of them are on another show, it just enhances the experience. Thank you so much for being part of this, Brendan.
Thank you for
And
having me.
absolutely, any fucking time.
I love you guys both. You guys are great.
Yeah. You're
Thank you.
great, man. Always
Thank you.
loved our conversation.
You're amazing. Please check out the Isolation Chamber and the Ellroy Boys if you haven't. Which, if you're listening to this, I'm sure you've checked out both. But if you haven't, do it immediately. Do you have a Patreon for any of these shows?
I don't. No. It's right now. It's all pro bono, pro boner. I think Ellroy Boys. I think both. I mean, at this point, you should just put one up just in case. All right.
You know,
All right.
I think you should. I mean,
Thank you.
we have 2 dedicated patrons, and they pay $5 a month. They're our buds. Thank you so much for that. And I'm sure if you guys got on any of those, however awkward or whatever it is, but you know, money's money, and it'll pay for the subscriptions and all that shit. Is like these shows are. They get expensive, between the alcohol, for us anyway, the alcohol, the subscription to SoundCloud, all that stuff, if any little bit helps. And again, Brennan, thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, talk hard.
Talk hard.
Yeah. I don't know what that means.
That's the message.
But I'll never stop.
Exactly.
All right, Brendan.
I love you.
I love you too.
We'll talk soon.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right. And then there were only 2.
Go.
There were only
just whittled it away.
Well, I wanted to give you I wanted to give you the podium and leave us off on something.
Well, I have a couple of quick thoughts. First, I'd like to I wonder how. I think there was probably a small but intense following for this movie when it came out for free speech. And my sort of cobbled together scant evidence for this is the inclusion of Amit Zappa in the cast. I believe he played one of the jocks or something. Amit Zappa is the son of the late free speech advocate and weirdo rocker Frank Zappa, who was a First Amendment advocate who testified before Congress when demon hellspawn lady Tipper Gore was trying to censor CDs. So I have to imagine that some people saw this script and understood its potential for free speech advocacy at the time. My final thought is that, as we were discussing earlier, there's a lot of genius going on behind the eyes of introverts. People that don't maybe stand up on the desk in class and make their genius known.
Like me.
But exactly like the sloth man. You're actually who I'm thinking of, because when you were talking about how you can perform, but you're not necessarily extroverted in social situations, that's like the Mark Hunter character portrayed by Christian Slater in Pump Up the Volume. There's a lot of people out there like that have a lot to say, but I think they want people, they don't necessarily know if people want to hear it. And like is the case in Pump Up the Volume, a lot of people are inspired by what he says, but then there's a lot of people who also think it's filth and it's disgusting, and he's aware of that. And so when you walk around with this loaded gun of a brain with all these interesting insights into what's going on around you, and then you find the outlet for it and you say what you have on your mind, and what you get back is, oh, this is offensive, this is deviant, this is dangerous. It kind of confirms those same fears that you had that made you an introvert in the first place. And luckily, we live in an era where there are a ton of outlets for people who think like this. There's a lot of places to speak your mind anonymously. And thank goodness for that.
Yeah. Shout out to the Howling Mutant. He's one of those guys.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a lot of them. A lot of these brilliant anonymous people, more than ever, I'd say.
All right. Well, thank you all very much if you've stuck with us this far. We will see you on the next episode of Slothcast. Thank you again to our guests, Jack the Perfume Nationalist and Brendan